So he looks at me like, you know, a coach or a dad does when you're in trouble, and he says, you wait right here. So he walks down the first base dugout, and I'm standing right on first base, walks down the first base dugout and leans into the fence and says, Mr. Tebow. My dad's in the bleachers, and my dad walks down, and he says, I think we have a problem with your son. My dad's like, oh really? What's the deal? He says, he's overly competitive. My dad's like, oh, okay, coach, I'll go talk to him. So my dad walks around the first base dugout, and I'm standing right on first base, and my dad leans over, and you know, he's thinking what to say, and he just looks at me and says, Timmy, it's okay. He just doesn't understand. So that's what it was like for me as a young boy. I was competitive, and I was encouraged to be at the house, and I had, you know, 4 older siblings that were competitive and made me a lot tougher, and that was a lot of fun for me.
Timmy, your dad, really significant to you growing up. And the movie Braveheart, your dad kind of connect together. Tell us about that, Pete. I love this story.
Well, when I was 8 years old, my dad would travel back, my whole life my dad would travel back and forth to third world countries, especially the Philippines, and so when he was gone, you know, we'd miss him a lot. He'd be gone 3-5 weeks at a time, and so one trip he was gone when I was 8 years old, and we couldn't wait till he got back in the summer, and he got back, and we couldn't wait to go see him. Me and my 2 brothers, my mom went and picked him up at the airport, and we're driving home, and my dad makes a quick stop, and he pulls into Blockbuster, back when there were Blockbusters, and he gets out and he says, y'all wait in the car, and he goes inside and he rents a VHS, back when there were VHSs, and comes back in the car, and we're like, Dad, what'd you get, what'd you get? He said, I'll tell you when you get home. And so we drive home, and my dad sits me and my 2 brothers down on the couch, and he stands right in front of the TV, and he looks at us, and he says, boys, you know that I love you. You know that I care about you. I know that you have goals, that you're ambitious, that you have dreams, that there are things in life that you want to accomplish. And I want to help you accomplish those things. I believe in you, and I want to give you an edge. I want to give you a leg up. He said, if you love whatever it is that you do, like the man in this movie, I guarantee you'll have an edge. If you're passionate, as much as the man in this movie is passionate, I guarantee you'll be different. And if you're willing to sacrifice as much as the man in this movie is willing to sacrifice, I guarantee you'll have a chance. And then he went and played the movie Braveheart for us. And yes, it was a little much for an 8-year-old, I'll give you that. But it was my favorite movie, and I've probably seen it 50 times, and it had such an impact on my life. You know, it wasn't just that one time, it was other times of my dad dropping me off for practice and telling me, do you love what you do? Are you passionate about what you're doing? And are you willing to sacrifice? Yeah, it had such an impact on my life. And I want to share that with you tonight. Do you really love what you do? Are you passionate about what you're doing? And if you do love what you do and you are passionate, you will be willing to sacrifice. You see, I love the game of football. I was passionate about the game of football, and because of that, I was willing to sacrifice. It was something I loved, and it was something I was passionate about. You see, passion isn't excitement, isn't hype, isn't motivation, because those 3 other things we can get from watching a highlight video, we can get from watching Sports Center, we can get from watching a game. But you know what, when you get hit by a 300-pound defensive lineman, I promise you, you're no longer excited, you're no longer hyped, but you're still passionate, because that's something real, that's something that's down deep, that people can't take away from you. And if you love it and you're passionate, you will be willing to sacrifice. You see, for me, that love was football, so I was passionate about it. I was willing to sacrifice. I was going to beat you up. I was going to stay up later. I was going to work harder. Blood, sweat, and tears. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was willing to do whatever it took to be the best I could possibly be. The best I could possibly be. You say, Timmy, if it's that important for you, you love football that much, you're that passionate about it, you're willing to sacrifice that much for football, what are you willing to do for the kingdom of God? What are you willing to do for your relationship with Jesus Christ? If it's that important to you. Or it might not be that important to you. Do you really love Christ? Do you really love your relationship with Him? Are you really passionate about it? And if you are, you will be willing to sacrifice something, your time, your effort, you will be willing to sacrifice something for the Great Commission. If you really love your family, if you're passionate about your family, you will be willing to sacrifice for your family. I ask you tonight, what do you love? What are you passionate about? And how much are you willing to sacrifice?